I
There
got
we
it.
go. Thanks, Meg.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that we'll get going because we have quite a bit to cover and we want to get you out of here hopefully by 8:30. So I think we'll go ahead. So oh, it's not allowing me to move forward now. There we go. Okay, so welcome everyone. As I mentioned, we are part of a regional planning team that consists of Durham College, Fleming College, and Loyalist College. And we also work with 5 different school boards: Durham District School Board, Durham Catholic, Kawartha Pine Ridge, Peterborough, Victoria. I'm just going to go Clarington,
Cetera, et
Northumberland,
cetera.
and Trillium Lakelands. So together we coordinate and deliver all of the dual credits that students and teachers such as yourself are participating in across those areas. And I'm going to stop for a second and let Christine just do a quick land acknowledgement.
I'm not a winter person. I'm trying to embrace winter because the land is so beautiful in winter. It's going to be a lot more beautiful tomorrow. Where I work, it's the traditional homeland of the Huron, Wendat, and the Ojibwe, now home to the Mohawk, the Potawatomi, and the Métis. When we look at the beautiful land, whether we're looking at the snow, the beautiful creatures. I had a rabbit right outside my window this morning. Regardless of what we're looking at and appreciating, we just want to thank the Haudenosaunee Confederacy and the Anishinaabe people for the work they have done historically all the way into today to help keep this land beautiful. And so we're grateful to be able to share and care in this land. So I invite you to take a moment to think about the outdoors and what you are thankful for with respect to the outdoors. So when we are thinking about dual credit and the focus, the dual credit is an incredible program that the primary focus is to help students to get that OSSD and cross the stage. And when we look at what the dual credit is, it's an opportunity to obtain both a high school credit and a college credit if we're talking college delivered, or sometimes to get that additional college credit if we're talking about teen taught. And so this opportunity helps students because they're involved in the post-secondary world, which means that they get that chance, that glimpse of transition and understand what the post-secondary world is like. We're trying to concentrate on the primary target group, which is a group of students who are disengaged, underachieving, but with the potential to succeed in a college setting. We also offer the program for students who are in Specialist High Skills Major and the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program. So that is essentially what we're looking at with respect to dual credits. When we look at the Specialist High Skills Major Program, it's really important that we know what students are involved in dual credits, who is also involved in the Specialist High Skills Major Program. And so depending on your school board, you may be able to access that information. I know we use PowerSchool, so we're able to see which students are involved in the Specialist High Skills Major. And that's really important because being involved in a college setting, it becomes a reach ahead experience for students. And so we're able to check off that reach ahead. So it's really important. We know when students are taking dual credits, if they are part of the SHSM program, they may also get an extra certification. Usually it's going to be not one of the mandatory ones, but one of the optional ones. And they might include advanced training in a technique or some kind of safety training. So when we think about dual credits, One of the reasons that they're incredibly successful is it's a new and different opportunity for educators that our students wouldn't normally have access to make some kind of a connection. So we have two different people that students end up being connected with. We have somebody from the high school side. It could be a classroom teacher or a dual credit teacher. There are guidance people as well. And then on the college side, there's a college instructor that the student gets access to. And when we look at that unique situation, what we're hoping for is that a connection can be built. And this connection that the student has, which is a new connection, can potentially help them to go from being disengaged to being extremely successful. We know that students who have that feeling that they've made a connection, they're more likely to be successful. Having frequent conversations between the student and the college faculty, having open lines of communication with everyone concerned, this is the opportunity to create a connection that might make a difference for students. You might have somebody who didn't really want to come to school, and all of a sudden having that college connection may mean now that they want to attend. But what we need to remember is that it is that connection, that feeling like someone cares about them, someone's interested in their progress. That is something that's going to make the difference for these students. It allows us to increase the potential for student success, address challenges that we see immediately, and we've got that positive learning environment that is created. That dual credit partnership is something that strengthens, and the student is the one who benefits from those connections.
Oh, that is not coming up, is it? That's Thursday. I know, that's what I'm like, but we have to get our other stuff done first,
Exactly.
so anyway.
Got their mic on, maybe it's, oh, perfect, thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Christine. I'll jump in here. So I just want to spend a moment chatting about the different types of dual credits that are available. And the first one is called a team taught dual credit. So essentially, we're deploying a college faculty to the high school because the high school students are learning curriculum that has a significant amount of overlap with a sort of introductory college course that we can offer. So the college faculty and the high school teacher are expected to sit down and look at those two curriculums, look at the evaluation components that are there, and find some synergy and alignment. Team taught dual credits are taught by both the high school and the college faculty, and there's an OSS course code that's recorded on the high school transcript. All the students will leave with a college credit recorded on their transcript as a regular college course. And this is a common misconception, but students can in fact have different marks in the high school course and the college course. So maybe you have a student who's really engaged on the high school side, but is still a bit anxious, maybe not performing as well on the college side. So those marks can differ. And both the high school teacher and the college faculty are responsible for working together to decide what assessments and evaluations are going to be used for the students' marks. So for instance, in our college course, if we have a big final test, and in the high school course, you have a big final test, college faculty and high school teachers can share those evaluation pieces. We certainly don't want the students thinking or having the perception that it's double the work to take a dual credit, right? So we want to find those moments of alignment. But as college faculty, we do want to make sure that we're working towards all of the college assessments and evaluation components that we have to report on our side. So not twice as much work, just one course taught by two teachers using different perspectives for curriculum delivery. Then we have our college delivered dual credits. So these are independent standalone courses that are instructed by our college faculty. So our college faculty report the marks. They get a special OSS 4T course code that goes on their high school timetable and transcript. And their college credit is recorded as a regular college course on their college transcript. We typically look at college delivered credits that are a minimum of 42 hours. So that works out to about 3 hours a week. And the secondary school teacher is there really to provide support, manage, any behavioral concerns that we might be seeing, talk to the faculty about IEPs. If the faculty gets in, they're having some tech issues, that's what the secondary school teacher's role is. And the same thing, the college course outlines the different evaluations and assessments that we must use in our delivery to our students. And there's a little bit of flexibility in these courses, typically built in to rearrange some of the content, restructure some of the way that maybe evaluation components are delivered, and the principal records the mark as provided by the college faculty. So we won't be adjusting any of those marks. So this is just a quick snapshot. So the credit for the secondary school course is recorded on the OST using the code for the secondary school Ontario curriculum course. The college credit is recorded on the college transcripts. And like we mentioned previously, the marks are often different on each transcript.
So some important things to remember. So excuse me, right now we're madly going to, and registering the students. This is a manual process. So when you register, the students need to be registered on earndualcredits.ca. That's the website. You need to find your school board and then your school, and then there will be a list of the dual credits that are offered there. Students select the course that you are teaching, and then they can fill out the registration form. That goes into a database, and then we have to manually enter them. So they are not real time, and sometimes they can take, depending on how many registrations we have, they can take up to a week to process. So we work very hard to make sure that all the registrations are done in as timely a manner as we can, process it with our small little team. But just be aware that students do have access to our learning management system, which is a D2L, which I believe some of the boards use as well. And we call it DC Connect. So until the students are registered, they will not have an ID number to be able to access this learning management system. So our faculty are aware of this, and they will typically, if there's a delay in getting the registrations in and they're not ready before depending on when you register, if they're not ready in time, then they will provide activities and resources for the students that are outside of the learning management system. The learning management system is a great tool for the students. It gives them that little bit leg up because they are able to learn how to navigate through it. And that is a huge thing in college. So when they're juggling 6 and 7 courses, this is a really good way for them to get exposure to that. And if we could ask that you look at your class list on whatever system you use at your school board, and then compare it in the first few weeks with your college faculty's list if you're team teaching. Oftentimes, students say they've registered, but they haven't. And it's not uncommon for us to be partway through a semester and find out that we're missing a student registration. So to try and avoid that during the first few weeks, please just compare your list, or maybe a student started in the class and then dropped it, moved, changed their schedule. So we're just trying to keep things as accurate as possible. In terms of withdrawals, if in the first 2 weeks of when the dual credit starts, if you have students that are leaving the class, then we can simply do what we call a drop delete. So it really just looks like the student was never registered in the dual credit. There is no student record and no record of them having been registered in it. Anytime after that, students must complete a formal withdrawal form to withdraw from the dual credit. So I believe that there was a package of information that went out to all the high school teachers that will have a copy of the withdrawal form there. You also, can ask your college faculty if you can't find it. They also have access to all the forms that are required. That should be filled out by the school. And if the student is available to sign it, great. If they are not available to sign it, then a guidance counselor, principal, can sign the form on their behalf. All withdrawals must be received on or before the withdrawal deadline date, and typically we will send out reminders about that when the deadline dates are. And any withdrawals, any withdrawals received before the deadline will be recorded as a W on the transcript, and then any withdrawals received after the deadline, whatever the final mark is that time, will stand. So it's really important that those withdrawals get in before the deadline. Again, we talked a little bit about the learning management system, and just again, it is a really great way. All the high school teachers should have access to the log into their course on the learning management system. If you need some assistance with that, there were instructions, I believe, called the first time login to DC Connect that you can use. And Cheryl Hopkins would have provided teachers with a college ID, I believe. So it's a 101 number. If you don't have that, check in with us. It depends on when we found out that you were teaching, but check in with us, and that will allow you to go in and view student marks and be able to help to track their process. You can also look at what assignments are due and content and things like that to help support your students. And it is up to the college faculty to provide an overview of the learning management system. So they will go through and show the students basically how to navigate the areas that they're going to use. So they're not all DC Connect experts, but they will show the students, this is where I'm going to post announcements. If they're using discussion boards, they'll show the students where that is. If they are wanting them to submit assignments electronically, then they will show them how to do that. They also you'll be able to access the class list on there, and that class list will show the student ID numbers for that first login. So those 101 numbers. So once you're registered, the class list all the students are registered, the class list will begin to populate. Again, it takes from the time we get the registration process, it usually takes 24 hours for their name to show up on the class list. Okay. Campus visits. Every student or all courses, dual credit courses, have an option to come on campus and visit the college campus. So we will be sharing a link with you, an Eventbrite link, where you can register your class to come onto the campus and visit. So we recommend that you book early to avoid disappointment. We have limited dates. The transportation is arranged by the secondary school teacher. So your office will have information, because the school boards do receive funding for the transportation to get to the college, so each college. So please check with your office on how to go about and get the bus arranged. And then each college of the colleges offers a unique set of activities and choices for their on-campus visits. But at very minimum, they will get a tour of the campus, usually some sort of a presentation, and in some cases, there will be meal cards provided so that they can have lunch. And just a note that TLDSB's dedicated dual credit teacher is responsible for booking any TLDSB class visits to the college. Just a little bit of myth busting here. So there seems to be a common perception out in the sort of the communities of the dual credit community that any dual credit can be transferred to any college course at any college in Ontario. And that is simply not true. So gen eds are generally transferable. So if your course has a GNED course, then yes, In some cases, it is more easily transferable because general electives are part of all college courses. So if the student is going and deciding to come to college afterwards, they will be required to take a gen ed. So, but the ministry has, when they developed the gen eds and made it part of all the college programs, the purpose of that was to provide students with a well-rounded education. So the general elective tends to be something that is not similar to what they're taking in their program. So let me give you an example of that. Let's say you have a stress, wellness, and nutrition program, and a student wants to go into fitness and health promotion at a college. That is very similar to the curriculum they're taking, so it probably would not be transferable as a gen ed because they're looking for something like literature or, money matters, something that's completely different. The other two areas where I want to caution you is communications and psychology courses. So communication courses tend to be very specific to the faculty where that program is offered. So the faculty of business or the faculty of social and community services, for example, Police Foundations has a very specific psychology that they use, or there might be a specific communications for business. So in that case, if a student is going into media, art, and design, that communication may not be recognized. So the best thing that I can tell you is to look at, there are links here that you're going to see that are links to each of the college's transfer guides. And on the front of the course outline, if you have seen a copy of the course outline, it will also show you exactly where those the course, which program or diploma program it is part of. And then that way you can guide the students that it's transferable. As well, they have to pass the course in order for them to be able to transfer it. So I highly recommend that you take a look at the transfer guides before advising any students about where their dual credit will transfer to in the future.
I'm just going to go over, in conclusion, some of the benefits of the dual credit program. One of the first things that we see is when students pass these college courses, all of a sudden a light bulb turns on. Oh my gosh, I am able to pass a post-secondary course. That confidence that students get when that happens is something that we see as highly beneficial. As well, whether the student is taking the entire course on a college campus or whether they just get an opportunity to visit the campus. When we see the expression on students' faces when they arrive at that college campus, look around and go, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And they start thinking, yes, I want to do this. That is another beneficial thing. We want students to feel like they have the potential to take that post-secondary course and enter that world. As Sue has mentioned, there is the possibility that the course could be used in some way as they embark on that post-secondary education. We do want people to be cautious because that is not always the case. It does allow students to consider their career opportunities, their educational opportunities. It gives them insight into different programs that might be available, and it lets them really start to map out what their future might look like. We have mentioned that it's really nice for students. I know in our board, we used to use the Brightspace system, but we no longer do. So when students take dual credit courses, using that learning management system, it may help them when they get into the post-secondary world to understand how that new learning management system will work. But we also find in general, the more different systems students learn how to use, the more able they are in general to handle things that are tech related. Another benefit that we have found is when we look at that connection that we have between secondary educators and post-secondary educators, we find it's mutually beneficial for both. The connections that are made are great, but also we find that these different groups of educators are able to learn from each other, which helps enrich both college courses and secondary courses.
Thanks, Christine. That is it for the presentation. We have just the final screen and we can, I believe that this can be sent out. The school board will send it out to those people that participated, as well as a recording will be made available. But there is some contact information there. So the board leads are the liaison between the school boards and the colleges. So if you are having any issues, please reach out to your school board representative and they will be able to support you. That is it for this morning. I'm going to turn Meg, can you turn the recording off and then open it up if there's any questions? So you can put it in the